heal, even if that is adversity. Life will give us everything we need to heal, even if that is adversity. I heard that on an edge of a dream. It was as though my higher self was saying, you know, William, life will give you everything you need to heal, even if that is adversity. We're going to be talking about finding treasure in the darkness. We're going to be talking about the shadow. And I believe it's important to define some things, because in some ways light defines darkness, and darkness defines light. The idea of light, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about light because I really like light. But if I were to paint my concept of what light would be, it would be something like love, truth, integrity, compassion, patience, forgiveness, faith, wisdom, honor, affection, freedom, romance, laughter, humor, belonging, brotherhood, sisterhood, safety, nourishment, wholeness. I could go on. All those things are real, and all those things are beautiful. And when we're in a state of those things, we are in our natural space. When we're in that state or those states or whatever those states paint, our heart rate is easy. Our digestive system is working. Our mind is thinking clearly. We have access to our artistic facilities. We have access to the higher functions of our minds. That's a great place to be. If we could stay in those places forever, I wouldn't be giving this talk today. The truth is, we live in a duality. The truth is, we're going to swing through these things in our lives. And how we deal with it, separates us from being self-actualized, sovereign human beings, having a relationship with this now, or just being helpless and scared and lost. And it's no fun being there. We're going to go on to talk about the shadow. I could go on a long list of negative words, and I have no desire to do that. But let's go to the next slide. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. So hang on, time out. One of the reasons that we're talking about this today, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is something that I've worked with and I'm working with and probably will be working with for the rest of this life. And this time of year especially, I go into a seasonal depression. I go into a time where I don't want to get up in the morning. I go into a time where it's so hard for me to do certain tasks. In my ministry school, I had an assignment, and it was a simple assignment. I'm supposed to write a protocol and a step-by-step thing for a volunteer team. And I had all the knowledge in my head to do this. And I had time to do this. And I could not bring myself to sit down at that computer and type out a couple of pages. And then I noticed I start going to a shame spiral. And then I noticed all these things coming up from my childhood. I noticed all these times of being afraid. And hang on, I'm in a life now where I'm loved, I'm appreciated, I'm respected among my peers. And yet I'm feeling absolutely worthless. I'm feeling like a failure. I want to crawl into a hole and stay there. I don't want to do this life anymore. But what do I do with that? Even though I have this voice, we all have these voices advocating for our highest good, even though it was there telling me to break out of this, I had to practice some of this Jungian shadow work. Let's go to the next slide. The parts of us we hide or deny or can't love hide within our shadows. If there's a child, and I feel I identify with this child, but if one were to take a child and tell this child they're stupid, they're ugly, and they can't do anything right, this child's going to grow up to incorporate those aspects into their life. When they look out at the world, they're going to see the world through a lens of these aspects. When we adopt and have things that happen to us, this could be childhood trauma, the death of a family member, a great failure or tragedy, or a feeling of humiliation or rejection. A lot of times, especially when we're younger, and even us as adults, because we're really just little kids in grown-up bodies, we can't handle these moments, so we end up shoving it aside. I know in my life, I made up a lot of stories about myself that I would tell to people that had no truth to them, just because I wanted to feel like I was good enough. If we have a subconscious feeling or thought or belief that we're not good enough, and we try to hide that, we try to shove it down, it constantly rides just below our conscious mind, constantly there eating away at us. That's why we see people projecting anger, projecting shame, projecting guilt, hatred, is because there's something within them they've yet to forgive or yet to deal with. I'll never forget having a moment in my adult life where I'm in a situation, I'm in a home, in a relationship where I am being demeaned. I don't want to come home. I'm afraid to go to sleep. I'm unsettled, I'm nervous, I'm on nerve, and I'm thinking, wow, this is exactly how I felt when I was a little kid. I had just unconsciously recreated the same situation that I lived through as a little kid. And I can't blame this on anyone else. There's got to be another way. And I remember one of the defining moments of my life was when I woke up and just said, there's got to be another way to do this. And I will tell you right now, the moment any one of us decides that there's another way to do this, this cosmos will bend over backwards to provide everything we need to find that other way. Let's go to the next slide, love. So the problem with being shattered, the problem with being afraid, the problem with being disassociated with ourselves is the fact is the sun will rise tomorrow. Life does not stop, especially if you've had the loss of a loved one or you've been shattered. You would think the world would just stop because my world stopped. But the world keeps going, and we have to learn to compensate for that. We have to learn to deny things in our own selves to be able to function in this reality. I recall one day going to school after I was severely shattered and people were laughing and stuff, and I felt like a shell of a little boy. A shell, and I'm supposed to do schoolwork, and I'm supposed to pay attention in class, and I was just a shell of a little boy. And the fact is, we have beautiful mechanisms within us that keep us operating and keep us going even when we may be human wreckage. But we don't have to live in that human wreckage. It takes courage to look at oneself. It takes courage to look at oneself. One of the most courageous things we can do in our lives is to sit quietly with our eyes closed and breathe. We have these devices in our hands that are brilliant at keeping us distracted from ourselves. There's an old saying that, this was usually meant for the criminal of us, for those who have very little self-control, the dregs of society, that if they were left to their own devices, they would destroy themselves. And we're looking at these devices that are giving us dopamine hits, dopamine hits, dopamine hits, dopamine hits. People stay up way past their bedtime and wake up cranky the next day because they can't put their devices down. This life is a brilliant distraction to distract us away from ourselves. The only real peace we're going to find, the only real answers we're going to find, the only real treasure we're going to find in this world is to begin to look within ourselves. to even to begin to become aware of how our own bodies tick, our own emotions, our own mind, our own thought patterns, takes a great deal of courage. And we're going to talk about some tools to do this. These are tools I use in my life just so that I can stay upright and sane, just so I can have a little bit of gentleness in my heart, so I can be able to forgive, so I can take an empowered standpoint at a world that seems like it's totally out of control. Let's go to the next slide, love. We're going to talk about 3 different ones today. One is journaling, a daily mirror for our minds. When thoughts become words on paper, the unconscious begins to reveal its patterns and purpose. Visualization. A guided meeting with the unseen parts of ourselves. Through imagery and presence, we enter an inner landscape and allow hidden aspects to speak in their own voice. Gentle inquiry, compassion and self-questioning. Rather than analysis, it's curiosity, noticing what arises and meeting it with warmth instead of resistance. Don't go to the next slide yet. Okay, I'm going to do my Jane impersonation right now. So as your attorney, I invite you to close your eyes and settle into your chairs. This is called the lantern practice, as pioneered by Carl Jung. Find a stillness and close your eyes. Picture yourself holding a lantern, a soft light that reveals without judgment. A safe place. Step into an inner landscape. Perhaps you're walking down a path and there's a small stream floating by. And you find a rock to sit upon and you lean against the tree and you relax for a moment. There, all alone with your beautiful self, ask it gently, what do you protect? What gift do you carry? Listen without forcing. Record what arises after the vision ends. And I invite you to come back. Come back here with me now. This is a practice. It's the beginning of looking within instead of looking out there to find what we think will make it okay for us. You know, we can chase 1,000 shiny things, and they're just going to take us further away from ourselves. To sit down and quietly have a conversation with ourselves, to quietly create a space, it's a practice. Let's say, for instance, tomorrow you started cross-country skiing. It would probably take 4 or 5 times before it was a lot of fun. Or before we got results. If we tried any new skill, it would take a practice. To begin to open up from within takes a little practice. We are worth this. Let's go to the next slide. Journaling. This has become a big deal for me. My handwriting was what you could call Neanderthal scrawl. My spelling was an abomination. In fact, I got so angry at whoever made the spelling rules, I just didn't want to try to spell because it was so stupid. But as an adult, when I really, it's like, I don't want to suffer anymore. You know, I see people who've recovered from things like I've gone through. I've seen people who have grace. I want to be one of those people that has grace. I want to be one of those people who walk into a room and can put everyone at ease. I want to be that. And one of the things they would say they did was journal. I began to learn to write in cursive, to journal. I began to journal almost every day. And so here I am right now. I'm in the depths of my darkness. We're daylight savings times. This winter's going to last for the rest of my life, and I'm going to see very little sun at all. And yet I still want to be productive. I still want to show up there for my partner and my daughter. I still want to be there for this community. And so I'll journal. And so just the other day, I was in a place where I don't want to be here anymore. I'm failing. I suck. And I went back and looked through my journal. Where was I at November last year? Where was that November the year before? And I was in the same place. And I wrote in big capitals, all I want to do is sleep. And I can begin to see these patterns in our mind. There's also something magical about writing. I mean, like magical. The word to spell is the same to cast a spell. The word to write a sentence is to make an edict. You are making a statement. You, as a sovereign human being, when you write a sentence, you are making a declaration. As I write these things down and look at them on paper, it's not alone in my subconscious operating. As I do this, I'm bringing these things out into the light. I write about my fears. I write about my day. I'll even write about what I want, as if I'm writing something into existence. What we focus on grows. If I'm writing about the things that are right in my life, the things that I appreciate, the things I love, more of that's going to come. It's as if this matrix is designed to respond to our frequency vibration. Are we choosing our own frequency vibrations? We're worthy of nothing less than that. Let's go to the next slide. Gentle inquiry. I have this friend, his name is Ezekiel. He's really difficult sometimes, but he'll point out to me about naming something. You know, I'm happy. Name I'm happy. I'm sad. Name I'm sad. This is really frustrating. I'm feeling frustrating right now. We don't want to say I am so much, especially when we're talking about negative things, but to recognize how we're feeling. Take the opposite of that, for instance. Let's say I wake up and I'm in a crappy mood, and I get into my car and I'm driving. I'm going to start projecting my crappy mood on every person that comes along. Have you ever had someone do that to you? They come in and they get mad at you. It had nothing to do with you. They were mad before they ever walked in the room. But when we can name these things, it takes it out of the subconscious mind to spin and lets us let go of it and recover and move past it quicker. So gentle inquiry, name what's arising, anger, envy, shame. Sometimes in me feels like this. To nurture, to respond with kindness. To normalize, remember it's human. Everyone's emotion has a story and a purpose. I think humor is a super secret ninja Jedi weapon. You know, there are times I'll be really loving and gentle with myself, and there are times when I'll laugh. I'll laugh at my own ridiculousness. Even if laughing at myself stings a little bit, I'm at a place where I'm humble enough I can laugh at my own mistakes. And I make some really dumb mistakes. Let's go to the next slide. The courage to face it. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's love choosing to look clearly. We don't change the past. We change our relationship to it. Each time we face what hurts, something luminous returns. Courage is tenderness in motion. The act of turning toward what we once fled. I have a mom. She passed away. And this is talking about we can't change the past. Yes, it's true, we can't change the past. But the only place the past exists is within our minds. The only place the past exists is in the stories we tell about ourselves and the beliefs we have adopted around the past. My parents were like scared little kids who grew up and made babies along the way. My mom's family were potato famine Irish, Oklahoma Sooner, grapes of wrath to the West Coast. She got to Bend because her family were crop workers, and they came here to work the potato fields and the mint fields. They were part Native American. We're talking domestic violence, generational alcoholism, abuse. My poor mom had 4 daughters before she was 20. My sisters were all 11, 12, 13, and 14 when I was born. She wept when she found out she was pregnant with me. She did not have the skills to be a mom. I know that when I would go to school, I would see these other kids with doting moms. I'd see other kids who had new clothes. I developed this whole thing. My mom left my dad when he was in the hospital, and I had a real attitude about it. I could never forgive her. She would bring, boyfriends home who were violent. I hated my mom. I told stories around this. I deserved a better mom. It's no fun to hate your mom. How you feel about your mom will affect every relationship you have for the rest of your life. I was in my 40s before I started to do a family of origin story where I'm writing down my father's childhood, my mom's childhood. I'm trying to understand my parents and how this happened. And I began to develop a great deal of compassion for my parents and what they had gone through. I began to change the story I told about my mom. I started to look for evidence in ways she loved me, and she tried really hard to love me. She went out of her way and did the best she could. I just happened to be a very stubborn, spiteful, hard-headed little boy. And I blocked her. I blocked her from loving me. I was able to go back and make an amends to her. I was able to go, it was really, really, really hard to do. And I was able to go back to make an amends to her and own my own stuff. I was able to open my heart to her. I was able to love her and appreciate her for who she was and accept her for who she was. I was able to go and be with her when she was dying. I can't change the past, but I will tell you right now, I bear witness that when thoughts of motherhood and relationships and the divine feminine come up, I can now feel tenderness about that. I can now feel tenderness and value in the own feminine aspects of myself. So in many ways, I believe I can change the past. The past is changed. Let's skip a couple slides ahead now. From wound to wisdom. I'm unsafe can change to I can set boundaries. I'm unworthy can change to I'm learning self-love. I am powerless can change to I choose my next step. I am broken can change to I am becoming whole. Would you do me a small favor, please? Okay, I'm going to count down 3, 2, 1. The right-hand column, can we say this out loud together? 3, 2, 1. I can set boundaries. You're goddamn right you can. Let's say the next one. 3, 2, 1. I am learning self-love. We are worthy of nothing less. Let's go to the next one. 3, 2, 1. I can choose my next step. We are sovereign human beings. The difference between being an NPC and a self-actualized human being is making the choice to. We have everything within us now. Everything within us we could ever need is here now. Let's read the last one now. 3, 2, 1. I am becoming whole. The fact, Jack, is we are whole outside of time and space. But to be whole Monday through Friday isn't always easy. So it's a becoming. I wish enlightenment was a finish line I could cross and then just wake up with grace for the rest of my life. But this is a practice, and this is why we have a spiritual community and why we have structure, is we don't have to do this alone. Let's go to the next slide. Some of the benefits are we have skills, talents, and abilities that lie latent within us. In order to find this, we have to look within. We have to give ourselves permission to fail, permission to explore. Clarity. Patterns once unconscious become transparent. I didn't realize I was creating the same problems myself over and over again. There were times I chased relationships thinking that I would find salvation in them, and just kept finding the same dead end over and over again. We can't change people. We're the only persons we can change. If you like what you got, don't change anything. Agency, the ability to respond instead of react. Authenticity, alignment between inner truth and outer expression. Let's go to the next slide. This is a breathing exercise. To breathe, to feel the breath travel through the body, inhale through the heart, exhale through the soles of the feet, and let each breath remind you that presence itself is healing. Name, whisper, what's alive right now? A thought, a tension, an emotion, a hope. In this moment, I noticed. Naming transforms confusion into connection. This has been a big thing for me because I valued not having to feel my emotions. I valued being numb. I sought to be numb. There have been times in my life I sought oblivion. But to come back and to feel my feelings, to honor these feelings, to name them out loud. I may have been deserted in this life, but I'm not going to desert me. And I notice the more I can grow to love and accept myself, the more I just want to love everyone. To bless, this is a superpower. Place a hand on your heart. Offer the part of you that surfaced a silent kindness. May you be safe. May you be seen. May you rest in wholeness. When we bless what is hidden, the darkness becomes luminous. I just love you guys. I set this free. I usually have an idea of what I'm going to say when I get up here, but a lot of it just happens, and I'm just here doing it, and I can't help it. And I wish you all the best. Thank you for coming.